Good evening, friends. Welcome to the Cold War Prepper on a special Friday night edition. We are so lucky to have Eric Christianson here, one of my heroes. He's the CEO of Nutrient Survival. He's also a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, and he has had several very exciting. And I watched one of the lives where Eric was talking about his um, time as an executive with Campbell's Soup and talking about the mysteries of soup. And you've all heard my mantra. I am 100% convinced that in a post SHTF world, the vast majority of us are going to be eating soups, stews, casseroles, and chowders. And I think that's kind of the direction that Eric is also taking his company, because I think that's his mindset as well. That make it nutritious, make it tasty, and make it easy to prepare. So, if you can meet those three things in a post-apocalyptic world, you're going to have people going pretty well and be able to survive pretty well. It's interesting, but he and I have had a discussion about my theory about the timeline as well, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later. But first, let me welcome some of our people who are already here. Little Lone Prepper, good evening. Good to see you. Aussie Life Maggie, thank you so much for being here. I know that you haven't been feeling the best here recently, and you're making a special effort to be here this evening. And you and I have talked, and I know you think the same thing of Eric that I do. So thank you so much for being here. Holly Ivans, good evening. Welcome. Where was it? I saw you last night. Oh, we were both together on out of New York City. Angry Prepper. There we go. Cats and Prepping, good evening. Good to see you as well. Stewart's Prepping, good evening. Welcome. Muskoka Oma, Utah Mike, and Avianir, good evening. Wow, we've got such great people. Yeah. And so I'm going to highlight this one. This is from Maggie, and she's excited to hear from you as well. And Jean Sen, that's a new name. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you here as well. If you are new, if you would like to hit that thumbs up and also subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. At the end of this evening's telecast or live, I will be putting a link and a code on the description. And so I have been an affiliate with Nutrient Survival now for almost 2 years. And this will get you a 10% discount on if you decide that the discussion we have this evening is worth it and you like the products as much as we do, then that will get you a 10% discount. Now, I am of a different mindset. So I'm going to share something with you. And I'm probably one of the very few people that's going to tell you this. Do not use my code until you have spent $350. And the reason is because I want you to get as much value out of Nutrient Survival as possible. It's more important to me that you get the best value and that not necessarily that I make a commission, okay? So the reality is anything you spend over $100 but less than $350, you're going to get 35. There's a code in there. You can get a $35 sample kit as part of that purchase for anything over $100 but less than $350. So if you get that $35 sample kit at $100, you're getting a 35% bonus, okay, which is far better than my 10%. So I would much rather see you get the extra items and be able to prep up with some good quality stuff than me make a commission, okay? So please don't use my code because it's not to your advantage until you get to that $350 mark. And at that point, it's kind of break even, but at $351, it's better to use my code, okay? So from here, Eric, good evening. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Lee, thank you for having me. It's great to be here today, Friday. It's a beautiful day outside, by the way, and I'm not sure you're a couple hours ahead of me. But first things first, Becky talked me into giving tonight, and actually through the weekend until people stop using it. Really, it'll be good. Is a 20% code CWP Cold War Prepper CWP Live will get you 20% So anyway,
wow.
we have some really good deals going on all the time anyway. You talked about the variety sampler. That's a great one. If you haven't tried our product, actually you can buy anything and get that for free. You would just have to pay shipping, which is like $10. So it's not a big deal. But anyway, CWP Live will get you 20 off, Lee, and your community for a while. But anyway, it is great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you about so much. I know we were bantering a little bit before we came on live about a number of topics. Everyone appreciates you for your knowledge and your experience about a lot of areas, and we have some cool promotions going on that hopefully everybody takes advantage of as well.
All right. Well, so I talked with Becky, and I also talked with Eric, and I kind of shared my theory about the timeline. I think one of the things we do as a disservice when we talk about prepping, we do a couple things wrong. Number one, we assume when we talk about preparedness that the scenario that we have in our mind is the same scenario that the other person has in their mind. And so quite often we fail to clarify, I'm thinking about a financial collapse, and the other person is thinking about thermonuclear warfare. Well, if you're thinking different things, then your priority for things that you're going to want to have are going to be different. You can have conflict in your prioritization and the necessity of different elements, okay? The second thing is we fail to announce where we are in the timeline of something happening. And so, you're going to have that initial occurrence, and then after the initial occurrence, you're going to have some adjustment period, and it'll take some time before we get to a reconstruction period and a reestablishment of normality, if you will. That may take, up to a year or two. So depending upon where you are in the timeline, different things are going to have different values. The one constant that is regardless of any scenario, the one constant that is regardless of any timeline is food. You're going to have food and water regardless of which scenario it is and regardless of where you are in any timeline. There's nowhere in the timeline that says you can go a week without food, okay? Let's just be honest about that. So I was telling Eric and Becky, and for those of you who have watched, you know who Becky is. She's another one of our heroes. I mean, that girl's got it together. But anyhow, as I was telling them, is my theory that, when something happens, right now we're into a geomagnetic storm 5 level, which is the worst. And there is a possibility that we could have a Carrington-like event. It started off where we just had 1 coronal mass ejection. Now they're measuring up to 7. And they think that 3 of them, 1 was slower, the second was a little bit faster, and the third one's a little bit faster. They think that all 3 of those, they're calling it a cannibal geomagnetic storm, where the third one may catch up and eat the second one and grow, and eat the first one and grow. And then we're going to be hit by a massive belt sometime this weekend, possibly. But anyhow, when that happens, when something dramatic like that happens, we're going to be without electricity. So we're going to take all the food in our freezers and refrigerators, take it out in the backyard, and everybody's going to be out there grilling and smoking and eating, okay? Probably after the first 24 to 48 hours, we're going to run out of the freezer. We're going to run out of our food in the refrigerators. Then we're going to start cooking our canned goods. Same thing. We're going to have to go out in the backyard. We're going to use charcoal or wood or whatever to cook. So you can, you know how it is today. You can smell everybody in the neighborhood who is out grilling some steak. You can smell the charcoal. You can smell the steak. Well, at the end of the first week, when people are done with their freezer, done with their refrigerator, and done with their canned goods, they're going to be looking for food. So the one thing you don't want to do is be out in your backyard cooking while everybody else in the neighborhood is starving. So you want to, probably for the next 3 to 4 weeks, you want to go inside. You want to have some sort of heat source that does not produce an odor and that is safe to do inside. Like there's a 1-burner butane stove that is safe for indoor cooking. You can get on Amazon. Fantastic purchase. You can use that to boil some water inside your house. And then you want one of 2 things. You want something you can eat just straight as it is. We love the peanut butter bars from Nutrient Survival. And another one is, and you see this behind me all the time, I get to show it off now, but this is the chocolate chip cookie meals. So you can also get the shakes or anything else that's designed to be an entire meal replacement. That way, you don't have to cook. There's no cooking involved at all. either consume it as is, or you mix it and eat it. And then all the other things, whether it be the eggs, the Southwestern medley, whether it be macaroni and cheese, gosh, what am I leaving out here? Lasagna.
Southwest homestyle is one of our
homestyle scramble
guys.
You just mix a little bit of hot water in there, let it seep for a while, and your cooking is done. There is no odor, and you can eat. So that's what's going to keep you alive so in my personal opinion, for what it's worth, you need at least a 3-week supply of nutrient survival foods or equivalent to get you in between what I'm going to call the die-off period. And it's terrible to talk like this, but at the end of that first week, when other people end up with no food, you don't want to advertise you have food. So you want to stay alive for the next 3 weeks while they die off, and then afterwards we can collectively get together and rebuild society. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Wow. Well, thanks, Lee, for the great layout. I had a little bit of echo. Do you hear that?
No, I don't hear it.
Okay. Well, I hear it. I guess it's just me. But no, for sure. I think, what you're talking about is layers and layers of preps. And, you have to be smart about the order in which you consume those. I think it's a really smart approach, in those first few days, maybe that week, is that electricity's off and things in your freezer, things in your refrigerator are starting to spoil, right? It's not going to be, you're not going to have that for an indefinite period of time. And it's going to be too late to put it out to dry in the sun, make pemmican out of the meat you have in the freezer. That's not going to happen. So you're going to have to go through that. You'll have to find a way to consume that. And I think what you're talking about is there are a lot of people around you that have not been as smart and have not been as diligent in preparing, and they're going to get a little bit desperate. They will, especially if we see a societal collapse of some magnitude. It'll be a little bit of no holds barred for some folks. So you have to be smart about that. When it comes to the point of, the next layer, when you can dig into your canned foods, dig into your dried foods, dig into maybe your grains and cereals and things of that nature, your pastas, of course. I would, absolutely go through those things first. Then you've got to, and you mentioned soup. Soup is the ultimate full, complete meal that still has all that great flavor and good, wholesome ingredients. And to tell you the truth, when I was at Campbell's Soup, soup is a prepper food for good reasons, because canning is one of the best ways to preserve food. It's the way Grandma used to do it, right? Canning food out of the garden. It's the same process that good folks at Campbell's Soup still practice today. Sometimes they get a bad rap for having a little too much salt, and maybe there's actually a misperception that there's a lot of preservatives in soup. There actually isn't. The preservation comes from the canning itself. So it is literally, bunker food, great food for emergency prep, and complete food in a lot of instances. Now, it's not nutrient dense. It's not packed with nutrients like our stuff, but, I'd absolutely make my way through the canned goods, the dry stuff, before you start tapping into, the freeze-dried long-term storage food. Because, like you said, that food is not going to put off the smell, the signature that might attract others that you don't want to have knocking at your door or breaking through your windows or what have you. And as you know, from eating our food, that freeze-dried food, at least ours anyway, because it's nutrient dense, it fills you up. You are very satiated, so you're not going to be as hungry. Now, by that point in time, you might be losing a few pounds. I don't know. You might be already rationing things. But it's a great way to dig into it. And that's what I love about the vitamin milk and the vitamin eggs and the vitamin butter and these sorts of things, even the new things that we came out with, the potatoes and tomato, because, yeah, that's the new one in the pantry pack for sure. That's 15-year. But if the refrigerator goes out, you can still dig into those eggs, add a little bit of water, and you have liquid eggs that you can prepare like normal eggs. And so it's just a great replacement for those common foods that you would have in your refrigerator. Now, we don't have meat products, but anyway, I agree with you in terms of the approach and the layers of food that you need to have available for you. 3 weeks, certainly, I think, is a very, very good start. I don't think people are going to be outside hunting animals and and catching fish in sufficient quantities to help you endure through those periods. A lot of people think like, just go out and hunt something. It's not going to happen. Maybe you'll hunt your dog, okay? And after that, you're going to start looking at your little kids like, maybe those little kid limbs are looking pretty tasty these days. I'm just joking, of course.
No, I think you're absolutely right. We talked about fishing in here a little while ago, and I did a short on fishing equipment. And one of the realities is if you get normal fishing equipment, take a professional bass fisherman. They work for 12 hours a day to try to catch 10 pounds worth of bass. And I don't know if we're going to have that luxury to spend that much time on a boat in the middle of a lake looking for the biggest bass. We're going to take whatever we can to eat, and that's going to be from the shoreline. But then the other thing is, are you going to have the time to even sit on the shoreline and cast out into the water? Or will you have other tasks that you need to do, like defending the home, gathering water, gathering firewood, and all the other chores? There's a reason why fishing was considered a sport back in the 1800s and 1900s. So you're going to need something different, trot lines, net casting or trap fishing or whatever.
Sure. Yep.
The same thing with hunting. And my example there is, we've got dove season comes through here for 3 weeks in the spring and 3 weeks in the fall. So we've got 6 weeks worth of dove. I don't know about you, but one dove does not a meal make for me.
Yeah, well, that's like a chicken
I need
wing.
2 or 3.
Right.
So if you're a perfect shot, you get one dove every pull of the trigger, and you got 4 people in your family, that's 12 dove. You need 12 dove for one meal. So now that's 12 shotgun shells. If you want to eat 2 meals a day, that's 24. So 24 times 21 if you want to feed your family for 3 weeks, and 24 times 42 if you want to feed your family for 6 weeks. Where are you going to get all those shotgun shells?
Right.
So, at some point you're going to run out of ammunition. So you need to stock up on good stuff like what we have here. Yeah. We've got some new guests in here. We've got another first time watcher here, I think in a long time. Somebody named Becky. Oh gosh. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Where did I see her? Diana too. Welcome. Good to see you as well. And I saw her in here. Oh, while I'm looking for her, if you would answer Muskoka Oma's our question here, Eric, right. Can Canadians purchase nutrient survival foods?
Well, you have to come across the border. Come down to the great United States, Muskoka. In all seriousness, my understanding is that if there's Becky, how about that? Hey, Becky, how you doing? And she's the other one. So you would have to. I've heard that you can purchase through Amazon, as Amazon distributes. That is my understanding of the only way you can get it. We just have not addressed the Canadian market yet. And we haven't addressed Europe or South America or Central America yet. Although there have been a lot of folks that have reached out and said, hey, we'd love to get some of your stuff. When are you shipping to the UK? When are you shipping to Australia? When are you shipping to Canada? We're still a relatively small growing business. And it is on the agenda, but it's not the first thing we're getting after these days. We're still plenty busy with serving the United States.
Hello, Vitra. Welcome. Good to see you. That's the first time I've seen your name, so welcome. I appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription as well. Here's another Canadian, Sumi. Welcome, Sumi. Glad to see you this evening.
Hey, Sumi.
But one of the things we want to accomplish this evening as well is let's talk about this idea of odor control. Let's talk about this idea of light control or light security, odor security, noise security. You've got all these different things that you have to be concerned about. Now, we've talked about it in videos here recently. Get blackout curtains for the light security at night. Go around and check your area, see if you have any spurious emissions of light in it. And you have to remember, it's going to be total darkness outside. You're not going to have the ambient urban, suburban lights or anything like that. So you're going to have a little speck of light's going to show a lot more than what it does now. So you've got to worry about light sec. You've got to worry about odor sec. You've got to worry about noise sec. My 3 Chihuahuas are going to give me away in a heartbeat and a half. And, so maybe this area is not the best way. So Nutrient Survival and Eric has come together and put together a program to where he says, you know what, if you're in a situation like Lee and you've got Chihuahuas and you need to bug out and get away from the urban, suburban area where your dogs can bark all they want at every squirrel that hops on the roof, and nobody's going to know that your dogs are alive and you're healthy and they're eating along with you, then what kind of a solution are you offering us for that there, Eric?
Oh, Lee, you're funny. You're a funny guy with those Chihuahuas. I'll tell you. So first off, I think your point around, and we called it in the military, noise and light discipline, because it takes a great degree of discipline to subdue the desire to speak loudly, to use your flashlight whenever, to light up your lantern, because we're programmed that way as humans. But in the military, noise and light discipline is super important. Giving off a signature, like you said, in pitch black with no ambient light, your little flashlight is going to get spotted from miles away. It will, right? And you'll hear the generator kicking on. You'll hear the vehicles moving, right? So you have to be very cognizant of this stuff. And we talked a little bit before we started the program about an ideal location, not necessarily for bugging out per se, although that's great. But we're here at Nutrient Survival. I always like to say that we're actually not an emergency food company at all. We're a freedom company that happens to sell emergency food. And I say that because we believe in self-reliance, we believe in responsibility, we believe in rugged individualism, we believe in the American way, we believe in the American dream. And the American dream starts with working hard and showing that through that effort, that energy, that regardless of where you came from, you can be successful. I remember when I grew up, my folks were blue collar. My mom actually, I guess a teacher's not blue collar, but my dad certainly was a hard worker with sweat and dust that he would come home to every night and have to shower off. And I had my pair of Levi's. I had my one pair of shoes, my Pumas, that I wore down flat, right, from walking around in them. I got one pair of cleats every 2 years, unless my feet were exceptionally fast growing. Anyway, the point is, if you work hard, you can be successful. And if you're successful, one of the things that you want to do is have land, have property, have home ownership. And that's what we're doing with this promotion. We're calling it the Piece of Freedom giveaway, the Piece of Freedom sweepstakes. And so we're giving away literally a piece of land. It's guff like tough. That's right. Becky Guff is tough. She's tough. We're giving away a piece of land. And it is absolutely simple and mindless to get in on this action. You don't even have to buy anything. There's no purchase required. You can send us, look it up the official rules, send us a letter, follow those rules, make sure that you do it as it describes. Send us a letter and you get an entry, because we're going to give away $10,000 worth of land to one lucky winner. And they can pick anywhere in the United States that they desire. They can go find a new piece of land out in Texas next to you, or out in Arizona, or out in New Mexico, or in Colorado, or wherever, Kentucky, Tennessee, wherever. And even if you can't buy a piece of land for that $10,000, you can get a good start. It'll be an awesome down payment. And in cases like you, Lee, if you've got an extra patch of land next to you, maybe you want to, buy that and add on to your domain, right? So, but we really want to help people get started if they haven't gotten started, expand if they have an opportunity to expand, and achieve what I believe is just awesome, and that's freedom, and it's living out that American dream. So that's the idea. Piece of Freedom sweepstakes, running basically since the beginning of April through the end of September. And if you've bought something already in that time, you're automatically entered. You don't even have to sign up for anything. You're automatically entered with every single purchase. So at any rate, we hope that somebody from your community is that lucky winner, Lee.
Absolutely. And so, what would be interesting right now, just take a second and dream. when you dream of freedom, just have a quick dream, and I'll kind of expound on that just a little bit. Number one, Rudy says that land up in his area in Alaska is fairly inexpensive, and then you've also got a pretty good partner and mentor up there in the Fairbanks area. If you want to buy up in Fairbanks, Alaska, that would be. My problem with that is, you have a very short growing time as far as vegetables and things like that. Although Rudy's building a greenhouse, and I'm very happy with that. But where would you like to do it? I think, gosh, I really loved my time in Monterey, California, but the only thing that grows there is cypress trees and icicles. And you look at the color of the icicles on the side of Highway 1, and that tells you what season it is. If they're brown, it's summer. If it's green, it's winter. But other than that, it's constant 65 degrees in Monterey, even though we wore khakis the whole time I was there. But anyhow, so that's not an ideal place, I guess, to prep.
Well, Lee, it's also California. Okay.
Well, that's true.
Don't forget that. So
that's true.
Unless something falls off the western side of the United States, that property is probably pretty expensive too. And there's a lot of people. My wife just went down there because we're out in Nevada. She went spring break. My daughter and her did a Northern California jaunt, and they loved Monterey. Said it was beautiful. I've been there many, many years ago, but they said it was beautiful, and they would love to be there. Pebble Beach is right there, of course, right? And the is the Presidio there in Monterey?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is that
That's
where
why
you
I was
did your
there
defense?
3 years.
You did Defense Language Institute there, DL?
Yeah, I did basic Indonesian in 1971, basic Russian in 1974, and intermediate Russian in 1977.
Okay, so you're lucky because you had military quarter. I think for other folks, it's an expensive place to live. It's a beautiful place for sure. Yeah.
Fire 93950. That's the zip code for Salinas. So
there you go. Well,
because Monterey is 93940.
What you're talking about though is the importance of temperate environment, and there are a lot of places. Call it south of, I don't know. What do you think? Maybe 30 north latitude, 20 north latitude. That would be ideal for year-round livestock and agriculture.
I think that's why Texas is Texas and Florida are the two furthest south states that we have, and you can definitely get some good agriculture and good husbandry, animal husbandry in both of those states. Although it does get dastardly hot, and I haven't seen anything come up. We got Salinas, California is one suggestion. We've got Canada as being punitive and not wanting to go there. My other choices would be, I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's a place called the Gila National Wilderness Area in the middle of New Mexico. It's famous for the Gila cliff dwellings, the Gila River, but basically there's no off-road movement of vehicles allowed. And the vast majority of the National Wilderness Area, if you want to get into it, you have to go by horseback. So having something in that area where housing was authorized, that would be so ideal because you've got the temperate climate, you can grow almost anything. There wouldn't be that many people around. When I went on a survey crew right after high school, we surveyed the west bank of the Gila River. Casting upstream, we caught a keeper rainbow trout every other cast.
Wow.
And awesome. So we lived for 3 weeks on rainbow trout. It's just gorgeous, just beautiful. So I would choose the Gila National Wilderness Area. Of course, the other area I really love is also in New Mexico, and that's the Lincoln National Forest in between Cloudcroft and Ruidoso. So that's another gorgeous area. And well climated and very green. So, those two areas would probably be my favorites. Anybody else have? Oh, interior of South Carolina, Diana 2 says. Where would you go, Eric? I know you've had a lot of time around the U.S. and especially some in Oklahoma at the one of the tornado magnets of the world.
That's it. Well, I've thought about this for quite a while. Of course, I think familiarity is a really important aspect as well. That when you talk about bugging out to a national forest, that presumes that you can survive in that national forest, right? That you can fish, that you can hunt, that you can homestead, that that you can get started and survive in that environment, in those conditions. I think most urban dwellers won't be thinking anything about wanting to get out into, the wilderness and surviving in that kind of environment. There's just not the amenities. There's not the conveniences. So you're a lucky guy because you could do it. I think for many, many others, that's just not an option. So, but familiarity with the environment that you live in, I think is important. I have bounced around quite a bit. I personally, I love the water. I love temperate environments. I love, I love to garden. I love to be outside. I think that would be a place where you don't have to worry about harsh winters and short growing seasons, to your point. If we're really talking about a place that you would, be able to homestead and do something year round. I mean, obviously, our nation has supported and been built with people living in all the different environments. So it's possible. It's just how hard do you want to make it be, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we have a couple of questions for you from Maggie. Number one, how do you keep up with production?
It's super hard, especially these days. It's super hard. I call it whack-a-mole. I have a chief operating officer. He's awesome. His name's Shaka Moore. He is also a trained culinary chef, and he's employee number 2 here. He was before me. This company was a smaller company before I came here in 2020, and they were doing nutrition-based food, but a very small business. And Shaka was with the business then. And we've been very blessed because we've grown this business to where it is today. From that first week when we started, we sold 36 cans of food, and it was mostly to ourselves. That's it, mostly to ourselves. And we've come a long way, and it's just awesome, how we've seen the business grow. We've grown from those 36 cans to, thousands and thousands of cans a week, sometimes a day. It's been just a real blessing. And wonderful communities such as yours, Lee, have been a part of that. Rudy's, Gray's, Angry Preppers, Black Scout Survival, all these folks that we know and we love out there have been just a big part of our success, and we really, really are thankful. But I call it whack-a-mole because as soon as we are feeling like we're in a good position on one thing, we're out of stock or approaching out of stock on something else. Homestyle Scramble has been a really tough one to keep in stock. It's a super popular one. It takes a lot of work to make. It's actually...
That's kind of double stroke on it too, doesn't it? Because number one, it's so popular, but number two, egg production is kind of down right now. Aren't eggs very, very difficult commercially to get?
Yeah, eggs, a couple of years ago, we had the HPAI where 52 million chickens were put down along with a bunch of turkeys as well. I was in the chicken business for quite a while at Purdue. These are layer hens, which are more susceptible to high pathogen avian influenza than the broiler chickens. There's a different kind of chicken that we eat, and they have bred them differently. So, layer chickens, they make eggs best. Broiler chickens, they grow very quickly, and they put on a lot of meat very quickly. They convert vegetable protein into animal protein very quickly, very efficiently. And all the producers, it's not any genetic modification, it's natural selection through, which chickens are doing the best. But it's gotten to the point where we're pushing them too hard. The food industry is pushing those chickens too hard, too fast, and it's not healthy for the chickens, to tell you the truth. But they're not the same kind as the backyard chickens that many, folks who homestead are about. But where I was going was, where was I going? Oh, production. So yeah. on the egg side of things, so think about this. When we make a product here at Nutrient Survival, it takes 4 days of work to bring that product to life. So first you gather up all the ingredients. Okay, and we start with real ingredients: potatoes, peppers, onions, cheese, eggs, etc. We bring all that together. We make it in small, handcrafted batches, one batch at a time. It's about 200 gallons within one batch, so that's pretty small. And we cook all day. We have guys cooking, and some women as well. When I say guys, I use that generally, cooking all day. Once it's cooked, of course, we add the nutrients, we fortify, And that's at the very end so that we don't destroy those important nutrients that
Right.
we're going to
Good
need, the
idea.
omega-3s, the vitamins, the minerals, the protein amino acids. But we put everything up to snuff. So most things are 20 to 25 to 35% excellent source, of your daily value on each of those important 40 nutrients. Then we take this stuff and we put it in a freezer for a full day. So we take it down from 165, 180 degrees down to -10. We put it in a freezer, giant walk-in, freezer with rails and everything else. 24 hours later, we pull it out and we put it into the freeze dryer. And people that freeze dry at home know that this is generally the process, but you let the freezer do a lot of the hard work because the freeze dryer is very expensive to operate. And that freeze dryer takes the water that is frozen inside the cells of the food, as well as the freestanding water, and it takes it from a frozen state to a vapor state without passing through a liquid state again. And so those shelves on a freeze dryer are heated up, and that water then is vacuum sucked out of the food. And what you're left with after a day, literally a day, is nutrients locked in, flavor locked in, water removed, and very long-lasting shelf-life product, up to 25 years, as you know. I mean, we're talking less than 1%, 0.5% of water content in this food, and that's the standard. Usually it's below 4%. We're down like 1, if not less. But we can all that up. So you take it out that third day. The fourth day, you typically can it. Okay, so it's 4 days from the time that we make it until the time it's put in a can, and then of course folks order it. So we have to really get in front of our production in order to be able to meet the continuous needs of people that are looking for long-term storage.
Now, do you just do one product at a time, or do you have the capacity to do a couple products simultaneously?
When it comes to cooking, and we have those 4 entrees, and sometimes people are like, you need more entrees. Well, it literally, you have to do one kind of a day.
Okay.
And so we'll pulse between home style and hearty lasagna and Southwest medley and triple cheese mac. We'll do one of those a day, and we try to do nice long runs so you don't have to, change the recipe cards around and everything. So we try to build as much efficiency as possible. So a long answer to the story that it's a little bit like whack-a-mole. Hey, we need some more of this, we need some more of that, and we stay very, very busy.
So, and I need to do a video on this at some point in the future. For those of you who don't know, since these products, most of the products, not all the products, most of the products are cooked so that when you add the hot water and you're letting it seep in, it's already cooked. You don't have to do any more cooking. All you're doing basically is a combination of 2 things at the same time. You're rehydrating and you're heating with hot water. And in most cases, some of them you use cold water. For example, the milkshakes. My favorite's chocolate. I'm a vanilla guy. I just had my vanilla ice cream before the show started. Everything I do is vanilla, but for some reason, the chocolate shake from Nutrient Survival is my preferred shake. And another one that you need cold water for is the milk. Now, I will tell you, I did a video about a year ago on my favorite tasting milks. And I have 3 that are all pretty much tied together as far as taste. And that's Nutrient Survival, Thrive Life, and the LDS. Latter-day Saints have their own. Now, the LDS comes in a package where it's only good for 2.5 to 3 years. So you have to take that into consideration. Thrive Life only comes in a small can, and it's a little bit more expensive. So when you take a look at a value proposition, and the value proposition is what are you getting for the money that you're spending? Then that's where Nutrient Survival actually wins, is because you're getting great taste, you're getting added nutritional benefits, and you're getting it in a can that's good for 20 to 30 years. So if you put all 3 of those together, then that makes it the winner, the obvious winner in any event like that. But I do think that one of these things we need to do is take this homestyle scramble or Southwestern medley and put those together and fix it. What I do, okay, especially with the homestyle scramble, is you can go to Walmart or your local gas station, go to your local grocery store. There's this little bitty 6-ounce can of diced ham. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So pour your home-style scramble into whatever you're going to reconstitute it in. Rudy convinced me to go to Walmart, and they have these little stainless steel lunch boxes. Basically, it's a vacuum walled, keep cool, keep hot type thing, and you put it in the bottom of that and add your hot water, and then you can seal it and let it seep, and it basically steams itself while it's doing that. Before you add the hot water, before you seal it, pour in that can of ham, and you've got a perfect mountain man breakfast.
Sounds delicious.
So that's one of the things you want to consider is not only is nutrient survival great, but you can even make it greater if you with a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of experimentation.
That's perfect. No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, one of the things you were talking about was the milk, and we've heard about HPAI showing up in dairy cows, and now the USDA has required that all milk that it leaves the farm, the bovine, the cows are tested for HPI before that milk is introduced into the food supply. So that's how concerned they've become, right, about this. And it used to be that, HPI was a bird thing. And now we're hearing that it's jumping from, birds to mammals to even humans. Down in Texas, you guys had a reported case of somebody catching avian influenza. Now, it doesn't happen very much, but this is the issue. I don't know what the next health crisis will be, but we certainly saw how it can shut everything down. And I think later this month on the 28th, the WHO is going to vote, and we are, and President Biden is going to enter the United States in not a treaty, but an accord. Okay, so stay away from the treaty language. Treaties have to be approved by the Senate.
Right.
Accords do not. But he's going to enter into an accord with the WHO where the United States will be subjected to the WHO direction when a pandemic or another health crisis occurs. So it's frightening to think about the agenda and what's behind this and what could happen to our supply lines if they decide that they're going to shut things down again.
Well, one of the things we have noticed for sure is our youth are actually prematurely going through puberty, and probably on average 2 to 3 years earlier than they had 50 to 100 years ago. And I attribute the vast majority of that to the growth hormones that are put in the dairy cattle to get them to market real quick. And so those growth hormones don't go away; they stay in the meat. And I believe that that's the early prematuring of the beef that we eat and we consume is being caught up in prematurely maturing our youth in the same fashion. So anything we can do to avoid that is fantastic.
Well, Lee, it's not just that. And again, I was in the chicken industry for 6 years, and I learned a lot about that industry. Here's what happens. This is reality. This is commercial production of our chicken today. Antibiotics. Every single day, chickens, turkeys, any livestock is being fed antibiotics every single day. The majority, unless you're buying something that's called no antibiotics ever. And Chick-fil-A, God bless them, good Christian, company with good values, closed on Sunday, all that good stuff. They have just announced that they're going back and abandoning their no antibiotics ever. And it's because, times change and they want a little bit more scratch, I guess. I don't know. But that's what I suspect. It's all follow the money. But it's expensive to raise animals the good old-fashioned way. That's what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. It's expensive to raise animals the good old-fashioned way. Antibiotics are a contributor to HPI jumping from different places. After a while, those bugs get smart, and they find a way to outsmart the antibiotics. They morph, just like we've saw, I'll say it, COVID-19 virus morph into different things. The same thing is happening. So we have to be very cautious of the use and the overuse of antibiotics. That's why homesteading is the best thing you can possibly do, because you're not doing that to your chickens. Not only does that help those chickens stay healthy, okay, for their short period of life, but it helps them grow faster. antibiotics every day helps those chickens grow faster. And guess what? Even though they say, well, all the antibiotics have been withdrawn in this meat that you're getting in the grocery store, I don't believe them because they lie to us too much. They lie to us all the time. So if you want to believe them, look at your bottle of milk. What does it say? No BHT growth hormones in this milk, or there's no statistical difference between them. Okay, I don't believe them. You just gave me a huge data point. Our kids are going through puberty 2 to 3 years before they're supposed to. There's all this craziness happening in their heads. Something is different. It didn't used to be that way, Lee, and it's because we are killing ourselves with the food that we're putting in our bodies.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. And, that's why you needed to make sure of the organization, wherever you're buying your food, make sure that they are trustworthy. And I have I have trust in nutrient survival, and I have trust in any of the LDS church food sources. For example, the current LDS food source, if you want to use their foods, their dehydrated foods, is Deseret Farms. And I have full faith that the Mormons, they won't do anything with caffeine. There's a lot of things they won't do anything with. I have full faith that they are doing everything possible to have as natural a food source as possible. Now, one of their original food sources was another company called Rainy Day Foods. I have faith in them. So I'm giving you the companies that I trust. I trust Nutrient Survival. I trust Deseret Foods. I trust Rainy Day Foods. The rest of them, I'm not going to say I distrust them. I'm just saying I don't trust them. Yep. On the scale,
you would be a great politician, Lee. I'm not saying I don't trust you.
Yeah, you're not in my
I
high
trust
trust.
These other ones.
You're not in my high trust profile. How's that?
There you go. No, you have to be, and I think that's the thing that's cool about our company. I don't know about any of those other companies you mentioned, but all the major companies, I don't see them out here in the community and walking the walk, so to speak. Right? There may be a lot of the talk, but they're not walking the walk, and that's an important thing for us. That our values are unshakable. I'll tell you how I feel about things. I don't really care if it hurts people's feelings. I don't care if I talk about, Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. That's who I am. I'm going to tell you what I believe, and I'm going to live it every day, and I'm not going to be shaken, and I'm going to do the right thing.
Well, over my left shoulder, every video, you're going to see, I have 3 cans of Nutrient Survival, Homestyle Scramble, the Maple Almond Grain Crunch, which is a fantastic one with the milk, and then chocolate chip cookies. Now, the peanut butter are all gone. Those went in our bug out bags. And, of course, we cycled through those. And I need to order some more. Then I have St. Francis of Assisi, and I have my crucifix. Up here, I have my antibiotics. And then normally here is my Jace case, which is also antibiotics. So those are the companies that I really support and really like. The Jace case right now is on the other side, which is I have my board here, and I do all my videos on the other side. Maggie sent me a fantastic light and tripod where I can do all my filming on the other side. And my Jace case is over there because my next prepper tip is going to be you need antibiotics in your supplies in a post-apocalyptic, post-SHTF world. So that you've got a preview of what's coming out next. I'll probably tape that after this live tonight. But, I display the things that I truly believe in. And so, it's kind of the same thing. I do need a bigger wolf or something because I don't think on my board, my blackboard that I use for my videotaping, that I have Nutrient Survival as prominently displayed as it deserves.
Well, we'll have to do something about that, Lee.
Okay.
For sure. I like this one that I got back here. He's pretty cool. And I've got one here. I never leave home without my wolf, but
I am sure Becky's going to fix me up with something.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
So so here's another point that I want to make sure everybody understands. That I'm a big I promote very adamantly. There's this triangle, and and this is the prepper's triangle, and you've got to memorize it. Up top you have inexpensive, and then over here you have quick or easy, and then over here you have high quality. Okay. Now you can only get 2 of the 3 at any one time. You can't get all 3. So if you want it quick and good quality, it's not going to be inexpensive. If you want it inexpensive and good quality, you're going to have to do it yourself, and that's going to take you some time. Okay. If you want it inexpensive and quick, it's not going to be that good. Okay. So the reason I bring that up is I want you to apply that to building your home long-term food storage. What do we call it? Cache, I guess. And that is, if you want something that's going to be more nutritious, more nutrient dense, that's going to have better flavor, that's going to last a lot longer, you're asking for something that's extremely high quality. It's going to be immediately available to you, so you're going to get it quick, but it's not going to be the cheapest product on the market. Okay, you're going to pay a little bit more for it, but there are some great incentives when you do that. Okay, compare that to some of the others, and I've got a couple I can show you. I bought a bucket, or I bought a box at Walmart. They were on sale, 50% off. And when you have companies like that, what they're selling is, if you take a look at it, it says 72 servings. Well, 8 of those servings are milk, 8 of those servings are oatmeal, 8 of those servings are macaroni and cheese. What's left, are soups, potato soup and stuff like that.
Tang.
So they're hoping, that company is hoping that you don't open that up and use it until SHTF really happens and there's nobody to go to and say, hey, this stuff is crap. I'm not going to eat it. Well, you're going to be forced to eat it because that's what you bought. On the other hand, you have nutrient survival. So get 1 or 2 products, try them out, get a sample set, get that free sample set and try the other products. And I think once you do that, you'll be hooked, that it's well worth the investment and you're going to appreciate what you have.
Yep. Well, Lee, I'm glad you said that, and not to bash on any other company, because any preps are better than no preps. Let's start there. But here's the reality. Your most important assets in a time of duress, in a time of stress, in a time of a need to be responsive and to take action, requires a sound mind and body. Okay? It does. If you don't have your head on your shoulders in the right way, and you don't have the physicality to do what you need to, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. And that's one of the big differences. And it's why we fortify our food with the 40 essential nutrients. Okay. Because that other survival food, and you talked about a prolonged period of need for food, they don't have the nutrients. They're empty, dead calories. It's tang, it's milk. We fortify our milk with 33 essential nutrients, right? It's these things that are just empty, dead calories. And again, if you don't have the nutrients that you need from food, they're essential nutrients. They're called essential because you have to get them from food. If you don't get them, your body is going to start falling apart. Your immune system is going to go down. You're not going to heal. You're not going to be able to function. So it may, to your point on this three-legged triangle, it may be the cheap and easy solution, but you're going to be regretting it when that day comes.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting down to where we've only got a couple of minutes late. I have kept you at work late on a Friday, and you have a beautiful wife and an absolutely fantastic family that you need to get home to, because they're waiting for you to come home so they can have dinner. I am quite certain of that.
I can't wait to get home to them and start the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
So I would like to give you the opportunity to kind of give us your final thoughts. One last discussion about the $10,000 towards the ideal location where a person could either start a new prepper home or as a bug out location. And then I'll close it up after that.
Well, first off, again, Lee, thank you for having me. It's been so good to spend time with you and your community. It's been a little while since I've seen you. I think the last time we got together, we went deep on the Russia-Ukraine thing as it was initially breaking. But it's great to be here, and you're such a gracious host for sure. Look forward to coming back, of course, and spending more time with your community here. But yeah, if nothing else, check out, dream a little bit, think about what you could do with $10,000 to go start a homestead, to go have a hunting location, to go buy a little piece of water, a piece of stream maybe running through it. You'd be amazed. You'd be inspired to just dream a little bit. And then enter. Entering is super easy. You don't have to buy anything. You can send us a letter with, follow the instructions. Send us a letter, and we'll put that into the hat. There's going to be one lucky winner. If you want to buy something while you're at it, great. Like Lee said, check out the sampler if you haven't already, if you don't know about us, and just do what you can to be prepared. That's all I got to say. Do what you can to be prepared, and never stop prepping. Above all, there's going to be people around you that aren't doing what they need to. You'll probably feel a need to help them out when the situation comes, but be ready and do what you need to protect your family above all.
Yeah, and you bring up an outstanding point, and I don't want to give everybody the wrong impression. You've got that die-off period, the 3 weeks after the first week that I told you about. But then after that, anybody who has survived, that tells me that they had a little bit of initiative. You come to my house, I'm going to feed you. But what I don't want is during that first 3 weeks when there's mass chaos of everybody in the neighborhood coming to my house. I have a little bit extra. I can take care of a couple extra people, and that's my obligation. The book of Matthew, chapter 25, tells me I have an obligation to do that, to help my fellow man. But I just can't help everybody in the neighborhood, and that's not going to help anybody if I try to help everybody. So thank you for that, for pointing out that clarification, Eric. I greatly appreciate that. I don't want people to think that I'm not going to be generous. I am going to be generous, but I'm going to be generous to a more specific group of people who are more willing to try to learn how to survive. So with that, any final questions from the crowd? Let me see. I keep most of the stuff I bought years ago on last resort. Food for my vehicle kits are to share. Thank you, Feoxerus. So good to see you as well. Okay, so we're going to close this one out. Thank you all so much for being here. I am surprised at the attendance on an originally unplanned Friday evening, but I think we're going to start doing this different time. I did this because I didn't want to keep Eric too late after work. We moved it an hour earlier, but I also don't want to conflict with my good friend Prepping with Sarge, who I am a moderator on his channel from 6:45 to 7:45 on Friday nights. So we probably will start doing this regularly at 8 o'clock on Fridays, and see how we can do with that. But anyhow, remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. And as Aaron told, or the Lord told Aaron in Numbers chapter 6, verses 23 through 26, this is how you shall bless the Israelites, and we are a part of that group. Say unto them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace.
Amen.
So we're going to get through this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because remember, the last great commandment we received was, love ye one another as I have loved you. Good night, everybody, and I will see you Monday night at 8 o'clock for Understanding U.S. Government or Civics 101. Take care. Bye-bye.